One, super excited to share with you a great tip that has absolutely been a game changer for me in teaching my children very simple manners from a young age and has really brought down my stress. I'll give you the whole story and I'll give you the tip because this is a good one. And as a big family mom with 11 children ages almost 18 this coming Saturday, down to 1 years old, this is something I started with my very first child and I've done with every single one. And now that my current 6-year-old is just started kind of pushing a boundary with manners, I just smiling internally, and I was like, I have to tell the big family moms, my big family mom Facebook group, who I primarily, create this kind of content for. But if you're catching this on YouTube or on my personal profile, hello, I'm going to share this trick. Okay, so backstory. Brand new mom, I was telling you, with my almost 18-year-old. And I mean, my parents did what they did, what they learned from their parents, who they learned from their parents, right? On it goes generation, generation. But some unique factors in my life when I was a young, I did not even know yet I was going to be a big family mom. No, wait, pardon me. Give me timeline right. We had already made the commitment, the huge God change to welcome children as a blessing. As we understood it biblically, we're new Christians, new parents, and we were going to welcome all the children God sent us, barring major medical mental health kind of circumstances. So our life had taken massive changes, and I was I think my oldest, her name's Eden, was about 5 at the time. So I kept her alive for 5 years. We had twin 3-year-olds, and I had baby number 4 had been born. I think I was pregnant probably number 5. Like, we were in the thick of it as big family mom life. And I was learning so much on my feet because, like I said, my parents prepped me, with what they prepped me for, whether it was intentional or just, the generational sort of default of you just do what you do, and then the next generation picks up what they pick up, hopefully approve. But sometimes, you know, just sometimes you just got what you got, and you just work with the hand you've been dealt. And I really didn't really know what I was doing. I went to school all day, and my mom went to work, and my dad went to work, and we saw each other. We saw each other. So I didn't really have a lot of practical skills for this mom stuff. I mean, obviously, I figured I had to keep some kids alive. Praise the Lord. But when it came to like 5 years old, 6-year-old, we started to get into this new phase where it wasn't just toddler time anymore. Now I had this interactive human being, my oldest, who was talking and verbalizing. And it's like really cool. Wow, we're talking now. We're interacting. This is kind of even a little more interesting in a way. Like the baby stuff has its cuteness. The toddler stuff has its cuteness, its challenges for sure. But I was really enjoying this like 5-year-old, 6-year-old stuff too, because it's really neat to actually have like we're connecting as people. We're talking and start to get a little bit of excitement for, okay, this is actually going to have some real high points, some really good stuff. All that to say, though, my 5-year-old started talking, which is great. Firstborn child. And she's an extrovert too. I'm not. And she started to answer me with a little bit of, I think, unintentional sass. I'm going to be generous, and I aim to be generous in the what innocent until proven guilty. Give people the benefit of the doubt, especially like little immature 5-year-olds. But she started to answer me like this. Tell me in the comments if you've had this experience where I'd give her a very simple instruction like, honey, go put your cup on the counter, okay? Or, okay, in 5 minutes, we're going to go outside. And she'd say, yeah, or okay, or my favorite, uh-huh. She was probably learning it from me, right? Like she learned the English language from me, but it was irritating me. It was kind of getting under my skin a little bit. And I was like, why am I getting offended by a 5-year-old who, on one hand, is acknowledging I've spoken, is indicating she's received the message, she understands, and it wasn't even terrifically sassy or anything like, uh-huh, like there was an attitude in it. It was just more of like a 10-4, message received, moving on. But it was irking me. And like I said, I didn't have a lot of really practical, kind of more fine-tuned parenting to draw upon. And I'm a first generation Christian. So I was like, it took me a little while to figure it out because I didn't have we were flying by the seat of our pants. And I was pregnant with number 5, right? So after giving it some thought, I'm like, clearly this is bothering me. It would be totally inappropriate for me to like kind of get upset with her. It took me a little while to figure it out. So hopefully by sharing with you today, wherever at your parenting journey, this will help you, whether you have 2 kids or 10 kids. I mean, maybe you've already figured out if you got 10 kids and you'll be like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. So here it is. It, to me, wasn't particularly respectful. And I had to work through a little bit of my own maybe parenting hangups because I had this we have this stereotype, this caricature of a strict Christian parent who holds a standard of obedience, who holds a standard of respect in their home, is somehow too strict and worried deep down inside when I did a little bit of like heart gardening and sort of unpack the roots of why I was irritated and also scared to do anything about it. It's because I thought if I really put a standard of obedience and I defined that with some specifics, just in this one example, that somehow it would just cascade over time and my children would grow up resenting growing up in a Christian household and having boundaries and limits that were particularly Christian or like directly tied to the fact that their parents were first generation Christians. I did not grow up in a Christian household. We're not growing up in a predominantly Christian culture. I mean, it has Christian heritage, but you know what I mean. So after I sort of unpacked and took out some of my stuff and dealt with some of the fear and set that aside, I was like, what the heart of the issue is training my daughter with some good manners and some good respect, which is appropriate, right? Honor your father and mother. And it wasn't really overkill. I wasn't turning into some Cinderella firstborn child labor kind of stuff. It was really as simple as her saying this. And this is the trick. Yes, mom. So message received. Right? So we're communicating, you understand, put your cup on the counter, it's time to go outside, whatever the instruction is. But instead of getting into maybe a little bit even just lazy speech, yep, okay, which is fine. Like, and if that's what you're doing, that's what you're doing. I'm not saying you're doing it wrong. I'm just sharing what happened with me. It was bothering me. I didn't know why. So hopefully I can sort of compact that time for you. If you're like, yeah, that does bug me. Here's what I did. I just started to instruct her anytime she did it to teach her a new verbal habit. And I said, honey, say yes, mom, or yes, mommy. That was it. It was just yes, mom, 2 words. So fast forward, here we are. Jubilee is now 6, and it's like deja vu because there's 6 boys in between my firstborn daughter and who ends up we ended up having 3 more girls after her, but it took a while to get there. And the Lord in His grace, ordered together the 11 children He's entrusted to us and one in heaven. So there it is. So she started to do the same thing. Deja vu. She's just like, I think it's the She has 6 older brothers, right? So she's just, she's a rough and tumble kind of gal, loves to wear a baseball cap. Jeans are her favorite thing, but she also loves a little bit of glitter nail polish too to round it all out. She's fabulous. So I just started doing it. It was so much easier because I had a pattern. I understood why I didn't have all those hangups and resistance. So, today, it must have happened 3 times just today where she really simple, like, okay, honey, it's time. We homeschool. It's time to start, your whatever, go get your bucket, get with your reading lessons. And she was like, uh-huh. And then I'd be like, what's that, honey? And then she'd be like, oh, yes, mom. So there's no shame. I'm not putting her down. I get it. And like I said, she probably picked up those little uh-huhs, okays, or whatever, probably from me, right? Because she spends most of her time at home with mom. So it really brought my stress down because when I hear that, yes, mom, my heart just sings. It blesses me so much. It encourages me on so many levels that I'm training my children with like good manners to show proper respect through, our choice of words and our tone with appropriate, authorities in our life. And I also just get a little encouraged that of all the things that I'm not doing well or right, and, I'm still growing in God's grace and still growing in skill. But that's one thing that encourages me when I hear that little, yes, mom, right? Because it's part of teaching children proper obedience, proper respect, that it's done with a good attitude, on time, and the whole job. That's the 3 parts of obedience that we teach our kids. I don't know if I learned that formally, maybe in a Sunday school class or picked it up along the way to teach them that. It's so simple, it's so small, and it happens probably 100 times a day. Right? When the kids, I need you to acknowledge that I've said something, I've given you a simple instruction, da 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 da, right? And I just want to hear that, yes, mom. But I have gotten lax sometimes with it. I'll be honest. And then I just realized, hey, and when I'm feeling that irritation, I'm feeling that for me, it's tension in my chest. That's why I'm pointing at my chest. I start to realize I'm feeling irritated with my kids. And then I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, because I haven't held the line. And so I can just say, hey, all right. Well, then I might sometimes, depending on their age, I might say, hey, 11-year-old, hey, 14-year-old, it's yes, mom. Okay. That's how, and then I might go a little further because they're more developmentally capable to say, that's how we show respect. It's a respectful way to speak. So please use, please use your manners. And then my, 15-year-old will be like, yes, mom. Okay. I'm not necessarily asking you to like click your heels and grin at me when you do it, but just let's just work with where you're at and then move forward from there. So It's a simple tip. I've taken like, almost 10 minutes to explain it, but I hope that's helped you to, if that's happening in your life, you're like, yeah, that's super getting under my skin. That is irritating me. It's a simple trick. It makes a huge difference in my day. And like I said, it's just one of those little irritation points because I'm going to demand, ex- let me put it a little more gently. I expect a response when we're communicating, right? I'm telling you something like time to go outside or go pick up the baby. He's making a run for the mud room or whatever, right? So that's been a big difference in our life. Okay, so wrap it up real quick before I go. This is just one little tip in my day, but I've got like hundreds more. But for brevity, for the sake of time, I'm going to keep my lives. I go live once a week in the Big Family Moms group for like 10, 15 minutes. That's where I really cap it off because I love to talk. I love to share. I love to help other big family moms because I didn't have this when I was young. Like I said, I was starting out first generation, new mom, and like Facebook had just started. Social media had really just started when I was a brand new mom. So if this is really connecting with you and you want more big family mom support where people aren't going to tell you, well, maybe you shouldn't have had all those kids in the first place anytime you have a normal problem, then Big Family Moms is a Facebook group I've created. It's growing by leaps and bounds as other big family moms are finding it. It is from a distinct Christian perspective. So if that's your jam, you might want to check it out. Link is in the box, the description below. And also, if you want to go even further, you're just like, Tara, give me the goods. I've put it all together in a course called Big Family Home. Again, it's linked below if you want to check it out, get a little more description. But real quick, it's got 4 parts, like the 4 big pain points that big family moms have. Home management, like all the chores and the logistics, the routine of how to get into a flexible routine that actually works for you. So I share all my tips, all of how I figured out the hard way, save you so much time and stress and money, which leads me into the budgeting portion. I did the how to feed your big family on a budget, which still even applies right now with inflation. And just some of the tips alone have helped people reduce their grocery budgets and inflation by up to 30 to 50%. So wow, that's so awesome to help other big family moms. And last but not least, Big Family Calm, of which teaching the manners in simple, organic, fits in your day kind of ways, like I just shared, totally doable. So if that's something you've been looking for and you're like, what? That exists? Link below. All right, I'm going to check out. I'll see you in the Big Family Moms group. If that's a space that you're part of or you're going to join right now. I'll see you over there. Have a blessed